Hello, dear. It's Heather, and you are watching Save Today with Heather J. I am somebody who has spent her entire adult life living paycheck to paycheck, just barely getting by, never having enough for any extras, and not being able to save for any kind of future possible catastrophes. So I have decided it's time for that to change, and in that I have created this channel so that I may share my journey with others who are interested in following, and in doing so, having you guys follow me, comment, and interact with me. It does keep me motivated to continue on when it becomes difficult. Today's going to be a long video, so I'm just going to get right into it. What we're doing today is my June monthly budget setup. For me, June is a 3-week or a 3-paycheck month, and that is simply because of where the first of the month for June falls in my paychecks and where the first of the month in July falls in my paychecks. I say always, this is my second video. I have chosen to start my May paycheck budget by mapping out my calendar when my pay dates are, which I have written in green. I don't know that that is very visible from the camera because the numbers are so small. So I'm going to just go ahead and circle my pay dates there for you. And maybe if that still doesn't show up in the months going forward, maybe I'll designate the entire square in some way. But I get paid every other week. I'm a bi-weekly budgeter. And I have my rent is due on the first of the month. And in order to not get late fees, I did in the just in April, before my May budget started, I did set up an automatic withdrawal on the first of every month for my rent, which is $850. The automatic withdrawal does come with a $3 service fee, so my rent is $853. But as you see, the 1st of June is the last day in my May 19th paycheck. So for me, June has to start May 19th because if I wait to pay the rent, I mean, the automatic withdrawal happens on the 1st, not on the 2nd. And so I'm a day short. So I get paid on the 19th and I have to save my rent money all the way until the day before the next payday. So that is why June starts May 19th for me, and it's so far off of what the actual month is. If I had set May up as a 3-paycheck month, then I would have been paying rent twice in May and not paying any rent at all in June, because my next payday is the 30th of June, which would pay July's rent. So that's the way this has to be set up for me, unfortunately. So let's get into writing on the calendar and seeing what dates my bills fall within. I did just say my rent is due on the 1st, and that is $853. And that is June 1st. I do have a U-Haul payment that comes out in the 28th, U-Haul, and that is $197.98. I have all of everything I own is in U-Haul boxes in storage in another state. I moved, I don't know, 5 or 6 months ago and have not yet been able to get my stuff shipped to me. So I am paying for 3 boxes. 2 boxes come out on the 28th and 1 box comes out on the 16th. Those are each $97.99. So I have the one for $97 on the 16th and the 2 on the 28th. And then I do have a credit card payment that comes out on my pay dates. And so I have one credit card payment for $100 on the 19th. And my very last payment on this credit card is $26.64. And so in my first paycheck in June. On May 19th, I have $100 for my credit card. And then I have no bills coming out on this week from the 21st to the 27th. And then I have U-Haul for $97, and that's it for this paycheck. I do have my paycheck deposited in, it's split and deposited into two separate accounts. And so the account my rent and that credit card comes out of is one account, and then this U-Haul comes out of a second account. And so I have to be very careful that I have enough set aside for that. I did have to keep $110 in this account from my last week in order to cover the rent and that credit card. And then in this other account, I have about $150 or $160 with which to spend on my flexible spending in that pay period. So let's go ahead and move on to the rest of my bills. I did put the credit card there on the second. On this paycheck, I'm going to be paying my utilities, which is $233.35. And this is, it's actually, my utilities were $211, and then I have a $20 service fee because my utilities get billed to the landlord and the landlord bills me, and that accrues a $20 service fee. And then I go to the post office and get a money order to pay that, and that money order costs me $1.75. So all of that, the service fee and that money order fee, is added to my utilities, which this month were $211, and I don't know what the change is, but that's what it ends up being for me there. And then I have no bills coming out this week of the 4th to the 10th. And then again on the 16th, I have this U-Haul. I do have this subscription that comes out on the 16th, and that is $10.82. And then on the 17th, my phone bill comes out, and that is $236.51. And my portion of that is $115.17. The bill is in my name. This is what the full amount is. I pay my portion, my son pays his portion. The reason I have the full amount here is if anything happens, the bill ultimately is my responsibility because it's in my name and it's my credit that would be affected. I've mentioned a couple of times, yes, we share, but sometimes he pays the full amount and I don't pay anything. Sometimes I pay the full amount and he doesn't pay anything. And sometimes one or the other of us will pay for it, and then the other person reimburses that person. And so we don't have any real strict, rigid rules. It's just whatever happens to be working out at that particular moment in time, that's what we end up doing. So the full bill is the $236.51. And then I have a one-time bill coming up from Best Buy. I have a yearly subscription that is a security for my laptop and my phones. And they sent me the reminder that that was going to be coming in, and it's regularly $49.99, and there's a $45 credit, so it's only going to be $5 for the year. So that's coming out on the 20th. And then I don't have anything else that's due until my rent will be due on this paycheck. So that is how everything lies here. Let me make sure I've got that credit card. Yes, rent, utilities, U-Haul, my subscription, my phone. Yep, that's all I have. I don't actually have a lot of individual bills, but I do have a few things that are taking a lot of my income that are about to go away. So let's get into my monthly setup. I did already write all of this out because I have to take the time to write it out here with you guys. I go ahead and fill this out ahead of time on this side. And so for my income, again, I've said I'm a bi-weekly, I get paid bi-weekly every other week. I'm an hourly, not salaried employee, and I estimate my budget at 38 hours. My current income, or my current hourly wage, is $20 an hour, and I estimate 25% in taxes and medical. So my estimated budget, or my estimated wages, is $20 an hour times 6 weeks, take away 25%. So $3,420 is what that comes out to. And then I do always have an other line. I don't expect other ever, but just in case something comes up, I have that line in there. I might potentially get a tax return sometime in the next month or two. I had to file my taxes for last year and the year before, and some of those returns have come in and not been cashed yet, and some I'm still waiting on. If and when I get all of those together, I will be using all of that money and some of my own income to get my U-Haul brought to me and get that fee out of there. So I'm really fingers crossed that that's happening this month. So my total income is $3,420. Again, that's an estimate. I have been working more frequently, closer to the 40 hours and not the 38. So I do expect my income will be a little bit more than that, but I don't expect it to be crazy more. And additionally, when I estimate my taxes and insurance at 25%, what really comes out is something like 22.7% or something. Not a nice even round number, but because I overestimate the amount they're going to take out and I underestimate the amount I'm expecting to bring in, this does tend to be a teeny bit more. I want to give myself that buffer. I'd rather plan for the worst and hope for the best in my budgeting. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, $40 an hour, and then end up being $113 short, and I was really counting on that. So my fixed expenses, my bills, the things I have to pay whether I like it or not, I don't have any say so. They tell me and I have to accept it. That's my rent at, again, $853. That includes that $3 service fee. Comes out on the first of the month. I did just set that up in auto pay, and as somebody who's used to spending money as it comes in, it's very difficult for me to save that money and not accidentally dip into that money. This is the first month where I'm literally having to hang on to my rent money for 13 days, and then it goes the day before payday. That is very much a struggle for me. Some of you watching this are very used to tucking the money away and not touching it. It's very difficult for me, and I keep having to check my accounts and double check that I've done the math and that it's still in there and I didn't accidentally use it. So that's where I'm at there. And then again, my utilities, that's at $211, and I didn't write down what it was. $211 and change, $20 service fee, $1.75 for the money order. My phone bill again at the $236.51. Those 3 U-Haul boxes at $293.97. My very last credit card. I'm so glad to finally be done paying this. That's $126.64, and then I am completely out of credit card debt. I did have 2 separate credit cards that I maxed out and ended up going to collections just because of 3 out-of-state moves and a lot of resetting everything up. There's a lot of things that caused that to happen, and unfortunately that caused me to lose both of my credit cards. It's a learning process. Things get better, things get worse, things are getting better again, but that's it, and that stops being a crutch every paycheck. Then I have this subscription for $10.82, and again, that Best Buy, which makes my total fixed expenses is $1,759.29. And then we get into my flexible spending. In my last paycheck, or my last monthly budget, which was my first ever monthly budget doing this with you guys, it became very clear very quickly that I had underestimated the amount I was going to be spending in every one of my categories. So I did add money to all of those categories this month. And I actually added another category. So we'll get into that. I had initially done groceries, dining out, transportation, and miscellaneous. the person whose videos I have watched most frequently, that's what she chose for her flexible spending. That's the thing that, I mean, it made perfect sense to me. But when I got into it, I realized that the one thing I was doing the most of in miscellaneous was related to my my art, the crafts, the sewing, the hobbies that I do. And I needed to make that its own separate category, separate from miscellaneous. The true miscellaneous for me is going to be the things that, like when I went to the Green Bee, which is a refill grocery store where I can go get refills on soap and refills on, get bamboo toothbrushes, and you know, that type of store where I have to go looking for a very specific thing, and it's typically just one or two things. It's not something I'm picking up in my regular groceries. Or when I need to get a new cookie sheet or a new cheese grater, those things are miscellaneous. They're something that are kind of a one-off, and I don't have to get them all of the time, but they're separate from regular groceries. So to that vein, again, I have 3 paychecks in here. Last month I had given myself $90 a week for groceries. This month I'm trying to give myself $110 a week in groceries, just another $20 a week. And we'll see how that goes. Last month I did end up being a little bit under in my grocery budget, and that was for 2 reasons. One, I did end up being over budget in my dining out, so some of that balanced out. And there was one full week where I didn't buy groceries because my beginning of the month budget was so tight due to rent. My son ended up having to put groceries in the house that entire week. And again, he gets what he wants, I get what I want. He cooks what he feels like, I cook what I feel like. We don't have any like 50-50 split. We don't have anything real rigid. So we get what we want when we want to. And I just felt like I hadn't given myself enough money to have the groceries in the house as consistently as I wanted. So I gave myself an extra $20 a week this paycheck, and we'll see how that goes. In my dining out, same thing last month in May. Again, my first month, just pulled a number out of the air and put it on the paper to see what sticks. I gave myself $15 a week. Well, very quickly, that's unrealistic. I mean, that's one meal for just me each week. If I get fast food, if I want a quality restaurant, if I want to take somebody out to eat with me, if my son and I are going together, if I decide I want, lunch at work and dinner on a different day, I'm overspent. So this time I gave myself, again, an additional $10 a week, so $25 a week, for a total of $150 for that 3 weeks. We'll see if that ends up being too much or still not enough, and how I continue to cut back my dining out. Dining out has, number one, gotten way more expensive than it's ever been. And number two, the quality of the food has just taken such a huge nosedive that almost every time I go somewhere, I'm disappointed in the quality of what I eat. I'm somebody who hates to cook. Part of why I've always enjoyed going out was because what I can eat at the restaurants is always better than what I can make at home. And that has stopped being the case. Most of the time, what I'm ordering, I could cook that at home for less money and have it taste better. And even when I go to places like breakfast places, I order omelets because I can't make omelets for whatever reason. They don't work out for me. I'm still disappointed. They don't taste as good, and they're super expensive. So my dining out is getting less, partly because I'm focusing harder on it, and partly because of the changes in the world and the culture and what we're doing now. It just isn't what it used to be. The other thing I have is transportation. And transportation for me is both fuel for the car, and I take buses because we share the car sometimes and the weather's gorgeous. So I go and get, I have estimated this month that I will likely fill up the gas tank 4 times in that 6 weeks. In May, I had filled up once per pay period. And again, I felt like I wasn't pulling my weight in that. I should have done it at least one more time in that in that month period. So I have budgeted this month that I would be putting gas in about once every 10 days. So 4 times in that 6 weeks. And so $160 because a tank of gas is about $40. When I take the bus to work, it's only $1. I just take it one way to get to work, and then my son has to pick me up after work because the buses don't run that late, even though it's fairly early. This is a very small town, and I'm lucky that the little bit of bus service I have is even an option. And then this is art. This is that extra category that I pulled out of miscellaneous based on information I gleaned last month. I really struggled with what to call this category: art, arts and crafts, hobbies. This art, a lot of people will see as a waste of my finances when things are as tight as they are. And I really struggled with what to call that, and I really struggled with how to justify that spending to those of you who may be watching and disagreeing with my choices. And here's the thing: I take this art and my crafting very seriously. I went to school to work on a fashion degree, a degree related to my sewing and to business. It is my intention to begin building a business for myself around this, and I have to continue to hone my craft. And this is not just going to Joann's and buying a latch hook kit. This isn't some, weekend arts and crafts, taking the kids to camp kind of thing. This is a very legitimate, high priority, and I need to do this. It's non-negotiable. That's the thing. And so I'm calling it art. And I still struggle with the word art. Art has definitely got a higher respect level to it than crafts do. But I don't paint and draw. What I do is the very heavily fabric related, but I also do soap making. I also am getting into the fabric dyeing. It's a very broad spectrum, but it's art. It's important. It's non-negotiable. This is a core part of my life, and it is going to be recognized as that in my budget. And then, so I gave myself $10 a week for that, and we'll see if that ends up being enough. I spent more than that last month, but that project I was working on, I knew I was going to need to go get a lot of things. The project I have behind us now, I believe I have already purchased all of the things I'm going to need for this. And so I don't expect that in the month of June I'm going to have a high level of spending related to getting this project finished. Also, it is a 6-week month. This project might potentially be done before that time is up, and then I would have to pull something else in. And I don't know what that is yet and what that impact will be. And then lastly, I have my miscellaneous, and I gave myself, again, $10 a week for that. $10 a week is what I had estimated my miscellaneous to be last month. And obviously that was not nearly enough if you've watched my last month, but that had both of those in that. And I believe now that I've separated that out and having a better understanding of what miscellaneous means to me, I feel like this $10 a week is probably a good number to go on. We'll see if that changes as the month progresses. But based on the few things I purchased last month that were true miscellaneous and not art-related miscellaneous, that should be plenty. So that's going to leave my flexible spending at $1,090, which sounds like a huge number to me. I did play a little bit with what it would look like if I tried to keep my groceries and my dining out as small as I did last month, and my transportation as small as I did last month. And I will still try and be as cautious and careful as I can. But I don't feel like I feel like it does me a disservice to cut these down so tight so that this number's not high and then ultimately end up in the red here at the end of the month. So we'll see. Again, my first 2, 3, maybe even 4 months are absolutely going to be about learning what's realistic and what things mean to me so that I have a better chance of sticking to it. So let's get into what my ending balance looks like. I have an estimated income of $3,420. I have an estimated fixed expenses of $1,759.29 and an estimated flexible spending at $1,090, which means at the end of the month, I have the potential to have an additional $570.71, which really sets me up nicely for the next month. I struggled a lot in setting up this month's budget because it is my intention to have my U-Haul boxes shipped from out of state and have movers load that in the house. When I called in January, I think, the estimate to have those boxes shipped was $2,667. And that number apparently is based on the cost of diesel fuel and the amount of fuel it would take, plus paying the driver to get it here. I suspect that when I call this time, that number will go higher. I don't expect that the cost of diesel has gone down significantly to lower that cost. It probably has gone up because everything in this world has gone up. So it will probably be more than $2,667. And I still have to pay movers to unload the stuff. Why do I have to pay movers? Because I'm old and because some of my furniture is very big and heavy. These are antiques that are left from my mother and my grandmother. These are dressers. These are bed frames. And I have to go up a very steep flight of stairs because I live in a house that is over 100 years old and the building standards were different then. So I have a very narrow run and a very steep rise on my stairs. There is no way I or myself and my son can just get that up the stairs. It's just not possible. I have to pay movers to do that. Where's that money coming from? I don't have $2,667 in my account. I do have some taxes that I'm expecting to come back, but I don't know for certain if they're going to take some of that money away. In particular, for my 2021 taxes, there is a $1,400 credit that I might get or I might not get. That's not a guarantee. So I'm not certain where I'm going to get that full amount, but I wanted it to happen this month. So I have looked at the potential of not paying my phone bill this month and just having that carry over to next month. I have looked at having these go all the way back to the basic minimums, which if I did that, drops this from $10.90 to $750. That's my $90 here, my $15 there, just the 3 tanks of gas, and having nothing here. Did not do anything related to miscellaneous or art. Does drop this from $10.90 to $740, which changes this number to $1,250. But it's still not $2,667. So this was a struggle for me because I don't know what's going to happen. I have to just plan for the worst and hope for the best and hope that as that happens, the money will show up at the exact time I need it. I don't know. So we'll see how this month carries out. If I do get my taxes, those will go in my other line. If I do end up paying the full amount on the U-Haul, that will go here, and that will just change what happens, you know, in the amount I paid at the end of the month. So it'll all come out in the wash. So I have everything planned. This is what I'm going to pay. If, it's a huge if, but if I get those paid, my credit card stops being a monthly bill and the U-Haul stops being a monthly bill. So I lose this $126 and that $300. So I lose basically $420 in bills now gets to go to spending. So I am fingers so crossed for that. I don't know what's going to happen. That is the end of my June budget monthly setup. June monthly budget setup. So if that's all you were here for, thank you for sticking around, and I will talk to you next time. But for those of you who are willing to stay for my craft, I have chosen